That's the sound of Hold My Cutter right there. That's the theme song, the theme music of Hold My Cutter. Here at Burned by Rocky Patel, Michael McHenry has picked out for another Irishman. If you've been watching or listening to a recent podcast, you might have heard the other Irishman that we had on here, but this guy is special. So, Michael, you went with the Emerald for Brian O'Neill, the esteemed author and longtime columnist for the Post-Gazette and Pittsburgh Press. Why the Emerald?
I was studying Irish history.
Yeah, and
Dúnshad Mac Brian,
Dúnshad
a famous
MacBrien.
king in Ireland. Yeah. This was his favorite. So I was like, we got to go with it. We got Brian on the podcast.
We got the king, King O'Neill.
Yeah. And I think there's some relation there.
Yeah.
I haven't put it together. I'm still working through the map, but we'll get there.
Well, we're connected.
Don't you feel like a king here? You feel like a king sitting here, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
You look like a king.
Yeah.
I do feel like a king. Already.
I love it.
Tell us about, first of all, how long, a couple of years retired now?
I retired in the summer during COVID, so it's been 5 years. Yeah.
It's a really good time to retire.
It was, all the handwriting was on the wall. That was time to go. So I'd written a column in Pittsburgh for 32 years, and I said everything I wanted to say. It seemed like a good time to say goodbye, so I said that.
Do you miss it?
I don't.
No.
I don't. I really enjoyed it while I did it, and it was a great job. It was a privilege, really, but I don't miss it. I enjoy retirement. I find plenty to do.
Do you write on the side as a hobby?
A little, occasionally, but nothing. I've been trying to write some fiction, which is like the equivalent of those guys who put ships in bottles. The odds of it going anywhere are pretty slim, but it's just fun.
Do you know how they do that, by the way? How do they put the
I thought you knew.
bottle?
I thought you knew.
No.
Actually, I do.
I figure one of you guys are smart.
I saw it once on a YouTube or something. They lay the mass flat, and they can squeeze it into the bottle. I guess they don't complete the bottle. And then once the ship's in there, they bring the mass back up, and then they close the bottle.
It seems like it's cheating.
It is cheating.
I didn't know that.
Absolutely.
I thought they had these little tweezers or something.
It could be I just made it up. But,
that's good.
Hey, it sounded great.
It's like magic tricks. Magic tricks are cheating.
Right.
So about 32 years as a columnist for the Press and the Post-Gazette. We're going to get into the book that you wrote a few years ago, The Paris of Appalachia, Pittsburgh in the 21st Century, because there's a particular chapter on the Pirates and the Steelers. But we'll get into that. And that's why I asked you about writing on the side, if you have any aspirations about trying to do another book. But how did you end up, Brian, in Pittsburgh in the first place? Because you're not a Pittsburgher initially. What, Jersey? Where are you from?
Long Island, actually.
Long Island, okay.
Yeah. So, I went, I grew up on Long Island, liked Long Island. I was a Mets fan in those days.
Boo.
Is that standard, by the way, Brian? Is that standard, Long Island guys? Or
there were a lot of Yankees fans around, too. But
that's a real fight, too, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can't be both. And I learned the difference between good and evil early, so I went with the Mets. So I went to Syracuse, and then I was looking for a job, and a friend of mine had gotten a job in a place called Danville, Virginia, which, if you know the song "The Night They Drove Dixie Down," I rode on the Danville train.
Oh, man.
So it was the last capital of the Confederacy. It was culture shock for me. But it was a good place to learn because the city government was both incompetent and corrupt. So there was plenty to write about. And then
So it kept you busy. I like that.
Yeah, I got, I recommend this now to all young journalists. I got caught in a flash flood and got sucked through a storm drain pipe, came out the other side, hung onto a tree for a couple hours.
Like Willy Wonka?
Did Willy Wonka do that?
That kid in the chocolate that got stuck.
Yeah, I came flying through this
What?
In a flash flood, September 1979.
This isn't true.
It's absolutely true. And
What?
yeah.
And you recommend this to kids?
I do because it got me a job at a bigger paper. I wrote a story about it, and I wound up quitting my job with the editor a month later for ethical reasons. and I was home, watching the Gong Show, and my editor ran into a guy. There was a job opening in Blacksburg, Virginia, and he said, "Well, Brian O'Neill's pretty good." And he said, "Well, we're looking for someone a little older. You say he's 23." He said, "Well, he's the guy who got sucked through the sewer." "Oh, really? That was a good story."
No way. That's
Honest to
wild.
God. Honest to
That
God.
is unbelievable.
There's so many
Absolutely
nicknames
true.
going through my head right now.
That is
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
Dune Shack McBrien? Did he ever do that? I bet not.
I don't think they had good plumbing back then.
He
So
is
that
the
would have
king.
been tough.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
is the
you're
king.
right. They didn't have plumbing
He would
back
have just
then.
been down the
That's
street.
true.
No, it's absolutely a true
Wow,
story.
that's
Wow.
incredible.
What was
Yeah.
going through
Jeez.
your brain?
It was scary. It was.
And
here's what
water's no joke.
No, and you find out, like, I'm from Long Island. There are no rivers to speak of. So I was playing, everybody worked. We were all fresh out of college at this small newspaper. So we worked 4 to midnight, and we usually played cards afterwards. And, beers and cards. And I left the party during this electrical storm. And we were listening on the radio. It didn't say flash flood in Pittsburgh.
You said electrical storm too?
There was an electrical storm, yeah. So I drive.
Jeez.
I get into my vet. I was driving a vet then. It was a Chevette, but I always like to say
Oh, that's good. A Chevette. You were driving
So-
a vet.
vet's a vet. So
good.
I drive
I have
down
no idea what that is.
a Chevette.
A Corvette?
It's a terrible car. Anyway,
a Corvette's not. You know a Corvette.
I know a Corvette
yeah, okay,
is.
yeah.
yeah, a Chevette. They didn't
Chevette,
last. They were like slightly above a Pacer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I drove to the bottom of the hill. I had to cross the river to get to my apartment. And when I hit the light, my car started filling up with water. And I got out of the car because, there was things floating around the dashboard. And I knew enough science that sitting in water during an electrical storm is not a good idea. So I slosh through the water and I go back up the hill to my friend's apartment, which I had just left. And I'm not making very good headway because I'm in waist deep water. And I thought, and don't do this, kids. If
You're going uphill too, right?
I'm going uphill.
Brian, how old are you again?
I'm 23.
Okay.
And I think if I get on the shoulder of the road, the water won't be as deep and I can run faster. So I go to the shoulder of the road, and it was true, and I'm running faster, but then it was like one of these Warner Brothers cartoons. I'm running along, and when I bob up, my legs have gone into this pipe that's going under the road, and I've got no leverage to get out. All the water is coming this way, pushing me. There was no way I could get out of it. And they say your life flashes before your eyes. I was 23. It wouldn't have even held my interest. But but I was thinking, I honestly thought I was mad at God. He was going to kill me in a sewer in Danville, Virginia. And I was thinking about my poor parents, because as a Catholic in the little town I grew up in, I knew the route to the afterlife. And I could picture my father at Kelly's funeral home, like, yeah, he died in the sewer. Just keep
Son of
alive.
a gun.
Yeah. But so anyway, I was drowning where I was. So I thought my only hope was to let go and hope it was a short pipe. So I just let go. And I go whipping through this pipe, upside down, slamming my hands against the top of this pipe, wondering when it will end. And it was blessedly short. It was only a 2-lane road. So then I come out, and I can still remember to this day, 45 years later, that first breath when I got out the other side. But now I'm in a river. I'm in like the Yakagani. I'm in rapids. So
What? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
This is
You didn't know any of this,
crazy.
did you?
No.
Yeah.
I hang
I don't
on.
think anybody in Pittsburgh's known this story.
Yeah.
You kept
Over
this
here.
quiet. You never wrote about this in
I
Pittsburgh,
wrote about
did
it
you?
once or twice, but
Did you?
people forget. But anyway, I'm hanging onto this tree, and I look downstream.
In the river.
In the river. And I look down, and this river would have been like a creek the day before. It was just swollen with all this storm water. And I look downstream, and it looks like this big tree has fallen and goes all the way across. So I think to myself, if you get to that tree, you can shimmy across and get to land. So I let myself back into the, river, and I hit this tree like really hard, and I managed to climb up onto it, but then I see it doesn't go all the way across. So I think at this point, and it's like 2 in the morning. You know, I'm completely
2 in the morning.
I'm completely
to
by
boot.
myself. I was, 2 minutes before I was at a poker table, and
This is nuts.
yeah. So I climb as high as I can into the branches, figuring God is not going to kill me with lightning. And I look back at where I was, and I watch that go underwater, and I just wait for hours in this tree, and then it stopped raining. The water calmed down, I calmed down, and I got to the shore. I looked downstream. I looked down the hill, and there's my car, and it's just on wet pavement. I walked past where the pipe, and it's just a little dribble at this point. And this would have been the culmination. Actually, there are 2 codas to this story. I knock on the door. It's now, I don't know, 3 in the morning. And we're all journalists, so we live in sketchy parts of town because we have no money. So my friend Chris Fuller answers the door with a big knife in his hand because there'd been a shooting.
Now you're going to get stabbed. What a night.
It would have been the way I hit. But I said, Chris, whatever you do, don't laugh, but you'll never guess where I've just been. So I spend the night on his couch. He gets a call from the editor. They tell him what happened to me. He says, get him in here, and he's got to write that story. So instead of going to the Doobie Brothers concert in Greensboro, North Carolina, I write this story for the Sunday paper. It goes all over the state, and I go to church on crutches because I sprained my ankle and all this. And I go.
I was about to say you had.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Right. And this is the best part of the whole story. I go to church, and there's Father Duffy, who's like right out of Central Casting. This is his like first parish. He's from Chicago Irish, kind of a wise guy, but a priest, And he liked me because when he came to Danville, I wrote a story on him, and it ran on the front page in the same day as the story with the Pope, next to it. So he sent it to his mother. Duffy did. I don't know what the Pope did with it. But
I'm sure the Pope was honored as well.
So anyway,
he framed it.
Anyway, yeah, probably. I like to think so. But I'm on my crutches, and Father Duffy's like, Brian, what happened? So I say, you're not going to believe it, but I got sucked through a sewer, and it's in the paper today. And he goes, have all these people read this story? I said, well, I hope so. He goes, honest to God, this is what he said. He goes, do me a favor. During the Mass, if you could walk up the center aisle and throw your crutches down, it would really help my career. Honest to God, best line I ever heard from anybody.
You were probably tempted to try and do that.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, true story. Yeah.
It was it pitch dark, too, right? I mean,
Completely
The
dark,
other
all
two, so
by
you don't
myself. It was as scary as, more scary than you would want anything to be.
How long did it feel like it lasted?
It couldn't have lasted very long. I mean, I wasn't
But in your brain?
In my brain, it was taking forever. Going through that pipe was taking forever, and it was probably not 10 seconds because I was going really fast. It would make a great ride at Kennywood, actually, if you knew the what it was right.
Sure.
But it was completely. It was like you were suddenly thrust into a movie, and it was like it was so surreal. It made no sense. And but I survived.
You're lucky to survive.
Yeah, I am very lucky. Yeah, and this is basically the Bible Belt where I was. So I got all these letters from folks who were telling me that the thing to do in those situations is to shout the Lord's name. And I said,
I did.
I promise you.
You have no
that's
idea.
What I was doing. But,
Only the Lord knows.
I'm glad you took it the right way.
Yeah.
But,
right after Mass, you went to confession, too, by the way.
Yeah, so easy to say, too, by the way, as you're drowning.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Getting sucked into a pipe.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's what's really funny about that is like a lot of people know about this, And so whenever it happens, like anywhere in the country, and it happens more often than you think, that usually it's a kid, but they get caught and they come out the other side. It's happened twice in Pittsburgh since I've been here.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like a small fraternity, but everybody, I go and I talk to them. when I can, and yeah, they're all like,
Oh, so you talked to the others who've gone through the similar experience.
yeah, and they're like, yeah, it was really scary, but didn't take that long, you know. So, but there are other people who never come out the other side. So it was, I don't know. It happened
a few years ago. There was a horrible in Verona, right?
Washington Boulevard. Yeah.
What happened?
The people drowned in similar circumstances. Man. Yeah, that's like a bathtub that fills up in heavy rain. It's still not right. They cut off the traffic now when it rains hard there. But yeah, that's my
gosh.
My story.
So that story then catapults you
to the Roanoke Times,
right?
Yeah, which was
I can't help it. That's kind of like a pipe dream.
Now that's good,
right?
That's really good.
It was just there.
Really,
I had to say it.
Here's to you.
Oh,
that was good.
Gosh,
Thank you.
So
I tried my best.
I like that.
Man.
You know, when things get too serious, sometimes I go for humor.
Well done.
Yeah, that's very good. I never thought of that in 50 years. I'm going to use that. But yeah, I got a job at the
new book
at the Roanoke Times, and I wound up getting a column there, and that's how I.
How many years there at Roanoke?
8 years and 5 as a columnist.
Were you looking to get out, or did this Pittsburgh just happen?
Well, that's a funny story too, because a lot of things in my life are luck, and there was a Pittsburgh Press columnist in the late '80s. I won't say his name. May he rest in peace. But he got fired for plagiarism.
I know.
And he had written a column on the autobiography of Vanna White's, and he had borrowed too much from this Rhode Island columnist named Mark Patinkin, very good Providence columnist. Anyway, so he got fired. So I'm in Roanoke, and my editor gets something out, editor and publisher, columnist fired for plagiarism. It's like, let this be a lesson to you. I pick it up. I'm like, well, the lesson is there's a job opening in Pittsburgh.
Thank you.
Yeah, you saw the opportunity. I love it.
So, long story short, there's a funny story I could tell about that too, but I wound up here.
I didn't realize that created the opening. His firing.
I got here in October '88. I didn't even. I thought about applying, but I had a girlfriend, I had a house, I had a dog in Roanoke. I was like, yeah, maybe I won't apply. And then like months went by, and I got a call from the Pittsburgh Press, and I'm like, wow, I didn't even have to apply. How'd they find me? And I called them. And Matt Kennedy said, yeah, Brian, what can you tell us about Darrell Lorant of the Lynchburg News? I'm like, what? He goes, did he put me down as a reference? He said, no, I'm just calling the columnists around him to see what they think of him. I said, well, I really like what he said. I mean, I don't see him all the time, but what I've read, I liked. But then it was like one of those things from like Animal House. I got the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other.
Is he trying to, is that guy also applying?
He had applied for the job.
So he's asking you about this guy.
That had applied for the job.
You don't want to talk him up.
Yeah. And then,
so you wiggle in? Yes.
So, yeah, I try to figure out how to answer the question honestly and still get my foot in the door. So I said...
He's a pretty good columnist, but a real jerk.
No, I said only nice things about Darrell. And he was a very good columnist, but I said, I'll tell you what, were it not for me, Darrell Lorant would be the best columnist in Virginia.
Wow, what a great line.
Did you drop that line?
Yeah.
I love it.
Nice.
Yes.
That's great.
And he said, really? I said, yeah, how do I apply for this job? So I said, send us some clips. And I sent some clips. I came out, got the interview, and I got the job.
And then that was in 88?
88, yeah.
And, boy, you quickly adopted this city.
I loved it. It's just like Michael was saying, it's like love at first sight.
Yeah.
It was a perfect, it just suited me immediately.
You got a mixture of probably a lot of where you were from in Long Island, went down to the Bible Belt, and then you get right in the middle.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's what Pittsburgh, that's some of what I talk about in the book. Pittsburgh is unique. I mean, I suppose every city is in some way, but there is no city like Pittsburgh for many reasons. But one, which I didn't fully grasp until after the book came out, somebody wrote to me. This is like a 2-minute story, but he said, if you can picture a map of the United States, the lower 48 states are divided into 4 big groups. The Northeast, which Pennsylvania is in. The South, which begins at the Mason-Dixon line. The Midwest, that begins, with Ohio. And the West. There is no other metropolis in America that nearly straddles 3 major regions of the country.
Wow.
That is why Pittsburghers have, I think, the work ethic of Westerners. They can get in your face like Northeasterners, but they're also friendly like Southerners. So it's those 3 aspects inform our culture in ways we don't even realize.
That's a great call.
Yeah.
You called it, I think, in one of your pieces, or maybe part of the book, like the 3 bears, the third bear. What is
it's
it?
the third bear of cities. Not too
third
big.
bear of city. Yeah, not too big, not too small, just right.
Yeah, not too hard, not too soft.
Yeah.
Just
right.
Just right. Yeah.
Who's the big bad wolf in that scenario?
Cleveland, I guess. I don't know.
Is it a wolf? Is it a wolf? I can't remember.
Yeah, there's
I
a
don't know
wolf.
if that's the
Yeah, trying to
is it?
Shot it.
No, there's no wolf in that story.
It's been a while.
Yeah, there's just bears and Goldilocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's a bear. It's a bear.
Goldilocks. Yeah.
Duh.
So Brian was Goldilocks. Just right.
I could see that with his hair. It's nice hair.
Yeah. So anyway, Brian, now, so you do over 30 years, 32 years or so as a columnist. Now, how did you? Because you continue to be a columnist, but I really read all your stuff that you wrote, but also really was fond of the Stats Geek. For those either watching or listening, you may not even realize it, but it was a regular column, the Stats Geek, which was baseball statistics, but with a twist.
Yeah, it was actually before Michael got to the Pirates, but in 2003, I read the book Moneyball.
That's what. Okay.
And I thought, and I was a longtime baseball fan, but they were talking about things that I never fully grasped before, and I looked at our sports page at the time, and we weren't talking about those things. So I went to the sports editor and I said, "How about if once a week I was the only sports writer in the country who never talked to an athlete, who just wrote a column based on what I saw and the statistics. And I think I could write a pretty good column just on those 2 things." And so I did, and I talked about, like, the A's at the time. I mean, like, the thing about Moneyball, it's all about finding what's undervalued. And at the time, it was on-base percentage. There are other things that, fielding, catcher framing that might be undervalued. So you got to find those things if you want to succeed. So, but they were doing things in Oakland that, like, we don't steal, we don't bunt. So I started watching those games with that in mind. And I remember a game where Jack Wilson, it was the perfect opportunity for him to lay down a bunt. And he didn't do it. It was first and second and nobody out. Instead, he, like, waited out a walk. He got a walk, which moved the runners over anyway. And then there were, like, a couple of sacrifice flies. And I realized if he had bunted, they wouldn't have scored any runs. And so that was a case that showed me, well, the A's were onto something. So I looked at that. I did that for about 3 or 4 years. And then it was taken up too much. I had to do my other column too. So I went back to that. And
it took a lot of time.
Yeah, it was
really,
fun
yeah.
though. I would
Very
do
well
it.
done.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I remember the one time I did talk to an athlete, I mean, my eyes were telling me that Jack Wilson was a terrific shortstop. And the
Second best all time in Pirate history, defensively. Behind Honus Wagner. Just saying.
And that's what I was
Just looked it up recently, so I know.
Well, and I love Jack Wilson, but this is where the debate comes. Like, how in the world does anybody know where Jack Wilson compares to Honus Wagner?
Here's what I was
Completely agree. But that's what
I
they
understand,
It's a
but it's-
defensive, yeah. But, well, they say Mazeroski, who was obviously a great defensive second baseman, the stats show that too. I mean, like when you say, well, I don't know how they get that, but then you see that like the best center fielders are Willie Mays and Andrew Jones and stuff like that. I don't know if they're
Kevin Kiermaier now. Yeah.
Kevin Kiermaier. If the stats back up what you think you see, then it's something. So the Pirates weren't good in the early 2000s. But I was watching Jack Wilson begin double plays that shouldn't have even been one out, all of a sudden 2 outs. And so I'm talking to my friends, and it's like, that's just because the Pirates pitchers put so many men on base. I'm like, that's not the only reason.
Yeah.
And so I went to Baseball Reference and Baseball Prospectus, and they showed Baseball Prospectus had a stat about how many double plays you get when there is a double play opportunity. And that also showed that the Pirates were very high. And
They led the league once or twice with him. And
yes,
while he was
yes. And with various second basemen, he was always. So I went to Baseball Reference and I said, can you show me the list of shortstops, the most double plays made in their first 1,000 games in the major leagues, wherever Wilson was at that point, I asked for, and Wilson was right up there near the top with Rizzuto and names you know. So this was the one time I wanted to talk to an athlete. So I go in with this list to Jack Wilson in a clubhouse before a game, and he's like, it was the only time I ever met him, but he's like a big kid, you know?
Yeah,
and,
still is.
And so, it was, I'm coming out of nowhere, but he was nice to me. And I said, I just wanted to show you this thing. And I show him the list, and he sees it, and he had no idea that he was up there with all these guys. So he goes, that is so cool. And then
Isn't that great?
And Freddie Sanchez comes walking by, and he goes, what are you guys talking about? And Wilson goes, double plays and how we rock.
sounds just like him.
Yeah. He'd say the same thing today.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, but I was glad those stats came out later about Wilson being at the very top defensively all time, because he really was a terrific player on a bad team, and they never get their due. Like Jason Kendall was a terrific, hitter, a catcher who steals bases like a bear riding a bicycle, and but the teams weren't good, so he didn't. I don't think he got the credit he deserved either. But anyway,
well, that's
so
what I love
about.
Regardless of the team, the woes of the team collectively. People ask about how you can be excited about the team. I'm excited about the players over the years.
Yeah.
Because everyone has an individual story.
Every individual game is a story.
That's it. And the book is the season, and you turn the page.
Exactly.
Each chapter is different, and you never know what's going to happen. That it's a great book to read.
Right.
As a baseball fan, but just over the years, talk about players that don't get their due. Someone recently said, and I'll ask both of you guys, see if I can find this. My brother and I have this buddy who's a big baseball fan in New York. He's a huge Mets fan.
You know what I love about what you said about the book, Brownie?
Yep.
Like you being a columnist and always trying to find that story, is no book is written until the games are played.
Yeah.
And too often
Yeah.
we assume, you being a Mets fan, I mean, they signed Soto, right? $700 million, crazy amount of money, whatever it was. The reality of it is, that doesn't mean anything.
Still got to play the game.
They still got to play the game. And the true beauty in baseball is there's a great chance that they're going to lose at least a couple games to teams that are paying their team $35 to $100 million.
Yeah.
And they have one of the highest payrolls in baseball. That's the cool part about baseball. You can't buy a championship.
Right. I was talking with Michael before we went on about a fond memory I have from I had to look it up. It was 2012. I'm doing the dishes, listening to a Pirate game.
This is humbling.
Yeah, and they're playing the Reds. It's 4-4, and this is 2012. The Pirates are just starting to get good, and people are starting to think it's like June. The Pirates have a winning record in June, which was pretty rare, and they're playing their division rivals in Cincinnati, and it's 4-4 in the ninth, and Aroldis Chapman, a young Aroldis Chapman, comes in, and I looked it up. He hadn't given up a run yet. It was June, and he'd struck out, I think, literally half the batters he'd faced. So, people in the stands in Great American Ballpark are probably going up to use the men's room. Man, nothing's going to happen in the ninth. Look at these guys at the bottom of the Pirates lineup. Clint Barnes doubles, and then Michael McHenry comes up. As according to what I read, you tried to bunt. Maybe it went foul or something.
I think he almost hit me in the face.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then they pulled it back. They're like, nah, probably tough to bunt.
Right. And the broadcast was this. McHenry's trying to bunt. Bob, what is this all about? Why would you bunt McHenry here in this situation?
4-4.
It's crazy. Against Aroldis Chapman, he almost got killed. Right. Yeah. What's this manager thinking?
About right.
So anyway,
he threw it right at my face. I'll never forget. I was like, bunt, oh, death.
Right.
Yeah. It was crazy.
I can't imagine how, that would be scarier than getting sucked through a sewer
pipe. They took off. They were like, swipe.
Scarier than getting sucked by a sewer pipe.
No chance, but close.
Close. He death-defying.
Struck by lightning. That was just a Chapman fastball.
102 at your face is no fun.
But anyway, it went 1-2, and then as I'm doing the dishes, Mike McHenry doubles. The Pirates go ahead. And I can still remember that. It's just like, because it's baseball. It wasn't supposed to happen that way. Nobody in Cincinnati thought it was going to happen that way. And these Clint Barnes and Mike McHenry beat Aroldis Chapman when he was unbeatable. So that's why we watch. That's why we watch.
So
the
romantic.
Games.
So here's the text from this guy. This player, former Pirate, career average 291, a 902 OPS, 51 WAR, more than Kiner or Rice. 137 OPS plus, higher than Griffey. More homers and RBIs than Hack Wilson. 35 plus homers, 90 plus RBIs, 90 plus walks 4 times in his career. Never struck out more than 80 times. Did not receive one Hall of Fame vote. Off the ballot immediately.
I have an idea who that is, but did he play in the last 30 years?
Yes.
Brian Giles?
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw his numbers recently, too.
It's crazy how good he was.
Yeah.
He's the best left fielder at PNC Park I've seen.
Yeah. Well, I saw Bonds.
Well, I'm talking about Pirate.
Yeah.
Did you see the...
But Jason Bay was really good, too, but...
Yeah. No,
did you see his comparison to Soto at the same age?
Yes.
Same amount of bouts? Excuse me, not same age?
Yeah.
He was better in a lot of ways.
I wrote a column, a Stats Geek column, that was very controversial because people didn't want to hear that. I said, Brian Giles is putting up Hall of Fame numbers here. And they're like, what are you talking about, Brian Giles? I'm like, look.
Yes. Just watch him play, though, for me, Brian O'Neill.
Yeah.
Watch him play. That's right.
Yes.
I saw him play every day. He was incredible.
Yeah.
It's the argument I have about Brian.
Too.
It's the argument. We'll get off the beaten track here, but it's the argument about Brian Reynolds and the statistics saying he's not a great left fielder. I don't care. I watched every game. Yeah. He's a really good left fielder. Okay. Really good. I wouldn't take him out of left field.
All right.
Anyway, so
that was easy. You go to the super duper new metrics and stuff. It could just be bad positioning.
That's true.
It's sometimes simpler than we want to make it. Yeah. But he was a Gold Glove finalist in center field 2 years ago.
Yeah. Speaking of things, since Billy Wagner just made the Hall of Fame and you brought up Brian Giles, I was at that game in 2001 when the
Grand Slam.
When the Pirates went into
talk about unpredictable.
It was ridiculous. The Pirates were down by 6 runs, I think.
I think 6 or 7. It was the greatest comeback in history at that point. I think with 2 outs and nobody on.
We just beat it
in the bottom of the ninth for a team to walk off.
We just beat that comeback like a year ago.
With 2 outs, nobody on.
2 outs, nobody on.
That's when the comeback started.
Scored 7 runs.
Okay.
And I remember going back and seeing that game. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because the names they had to beat was different.
Yeah, I was. This friend of mine owned a restaurant on 6th Street at the time, and he was listening to the game on the radio. When Brian Giles hit the home run, he ran up onto 6th Street and saw all these Pirates fans walking down the street, and he's like, "You idiots! You left! You missed the greatest comeback in history!" And they're like, "What are you talking about? They lost." "No, they didn't. Listen to the fireworks.
Another great lesson.
You morons!"
Yeah. Morons for leaving early.
Well, that's a great way to get people into
Yeah,
your restaurant,
that'll
Michael.
help. Yeah.
I don't care. They're crazy.
But you guys got to watch Billy Wagner pitch. That guy was special.
Oh,
Lefties
yeah.
didn't hit him.
Oh.
Yeah.
And the fact that Giles clipped him is really
Yeah,
impressive.
that was like, it was one of those times, and I've had a few of these experiences where everybody in the park is waiting for this one thing to happen. And it happened.
Yeah.
You know, I was at Willie Mays' first game as a Met. Same thing.
Wow.
We're just waiting. We're all there. He's back in New York. Everybody wants him to hit a home run. And it's the 5th inning of a tie game, 5th or 6th. And he hits it into the bullpen.
No.
He hit a home run his first game.
His
back
first
as
game as a Met, hits it into the bullpen. And
So
it
it's
was
like what you dream of and it happens.
yes. And it was like this moment of like silence because like nobody could
It's so
believe it. And
unbelievable.
then
Silence. Yeah.
erupted. You know, this full house on a Saturday just went berserk because everything that they had hoped for had just come true.
Wow.
Isn't that something else?
Baseball's great.
Yeah.
Baseball's great. Man, it's so
That is
cool.
great. You were at that game.
I was at that game.
Was that opening day that year?
No, it was like May. He got traded.
May for
traded
Mays.
Yeah, May for
Yeah.
Mays. Yeah, he got traded during the season.
Oh, I didn't know it was during the season.
Yeah, and yeah, it was fantastic. I was also at the game where Pete Rose mugged Bud Harrelson in the 1973
Oh,
playoffs.
really? Yeah.
And everybody wanted Pete Rose dead.
Yes.
And people were chanting things that I can't repeat here. And finally, Mets were going to forfeit this playoff game that they were way ahead. And Willie Mays, Yogi Berra, Tom Seaver, and Rusty Staub walked out to left field where the trouble was, and where I happened to be sitting. And they said, stop it. And then like everybody, hey, Willie said to sit down.
Oh,
so
gosh,
sit
everybody
down.
sits down.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, my
So,
gosh.
yeah. So, yeah, that's baseball, as you were saying. I mean, it's like you never know what you're going to get. And, that's what makes it
So
great.
one of those two moments you just mentioned, if I asked you the greatest moment of your baseball fandom, either that you attended or watched?
I would say the wild card game here.
Were you there?
See, I was there. Yeah, that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, that was everything you wanted in a baseball game. And when Cueto dropped the ball and then Russ Martin hit the home run.
The next
and,
pitch.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I mean, it was so
You
fun.
couldn't write a storybook like that.
Yeah. And it was a blackout
Yes.
because of McCutcheon's request. And
You know, I heard Kutch speaking about that the other day. We were sitting there talking. He was telling some of the young guys, it looked like the bridge was moving when they were walking across.
yeah,
Like, I went out early. I was hurt, and I just got off my crutches. So I was out watching. And because the way they were flowing through the bridge, it
Yeah.
really did look like
Wow.
Clemente Bridge was going like this.
Jeez.
I don't think
Yeah.
it was really doing that,
Wow.
obviously, but like from
Had
our
the illusion of it
perspective,
from
if
that,
we could
yeah.
find video and you watch it, they're so in flow as they're walking, it looked like it was moving like a snake. It was wild.
that is tremendous.
And I had never heard him talk about it like that because most of the time, you just hear, his account, but he was talking about it almost like a fan in the moment,
Yeah,
instead of a player.
yeah.
Everybody
he
got
was a
caught
fan,
up in
so,
that.
yeah.
He was so
moment.
caught up, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, think about that. Thinking about that whole bridge moving.
Well, the
Yeah.
sea of humanity that day.
Oh.
Hours before the game. I
Hours.
remember going up to the top at P&S where we hang out sometimes,
Yeah.
you and I. Well before this is 3 hours before the game, and looking down at the corner there of General
imagine.
Robinson and Federal Street, where the Clemente Bridge meets at the corner there, and it just all a sea of black everywhere on the
Yeah,
streets,
right.
waving Jolly Rogers,
Yeah.
wanting to get in that ballpark. And then when they opened the gates 2 hours before game time, it was like, as Milo Hamilton used to, somebody threw honey on an anthill. I mean, it was wild. I mean,
was
the place filled up like that, but 2 hours before the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Incredible.
That was. Yeah, I've seen a lot of good things. I've been to a lot of games, but that's right at the top.
It goes back to, well, didn't even ask you how you became such a baseball fan originally.
Yeah,
said
because
you
you
grew
were
up a
covering
Mets fan,
politics, right?
But
Yeah,
what was it
but
about
I mean,
baseball?
I was a, you know, when I was a kid, baseball was. Yeah, my father was a big baseball fan. He'd been a Yankees fan until 1945, and they traded his favorite pitcher, Hank Baroe, to the Cubs, and he dropped.
No
So that's
way.
how you became a Mets fan.
Yeah, no,
I get it now.
right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he dropped the Yankees.
There's hatred there.
They call that, I'm Irish, so I can say that. They call this Irish Alzheimer's. You forget everything but your grudges. So he's like, the Yankees are dead to me. So he became a New York Giants fan. So when I was a little kid, I remember asking, you know, I was starting to collect baseball cards. Who's the best baseball player, Dad? Willie Mays is the best baseball player. So I would, you know, learn from him, and I played Little League, not well. I peaked at 12. The Carl Place Wine and Liquor Blazers won the pennant. I was pretty good.
The what? The what?
We were everywhere.
The Wine and Liquor Blazers?
Carl Place Wine
12 years old?
I was 12 years old. Well,
Bad News Bears right there.
New York's not Pennsylvania, so the liquor stores were private. So there were the Rowan Realty Rockets and et cetera, like the little businesses in town.
You guys took shots after a game?
Sponsored,
Yeah.
not every game.
With the name on the back, though?
The Carl Place Wine and Liquor Blazers.
Do you guys see Bad News Bears? That's exactly what
Oh,
that's
yeah,
like.
absolutely. Yeah, same thing.
No Gatorade here, boys.
And by the way, here's a crazy bit of trivia. The catcher on the Carl Place Wine and Liquor Blazers, in the movie The Natural, Joe Masso is the catcher in The Natural.
Come on.
Yeah. He got into acting, and he had this bit part in The Natural. So I can always say that the catcher on my Little League team was the catcher in The Natural.
Oh, my gosh.
How cool is that?
Joe Masso, yeah.
Did you stay in touch with him by chance?
No,
And
I
how did
don't.
you know? When did you find out that your teammate was in the Natural?
I
I feel like you should write a story about that team.
Somebody told me, and I looked it up. You can look it up on, check me on imdb.com.
Yeah.
Joe Masso, his credit is additional night. I don't think he had a line in the movie, but he was the catcher. But the memory I have as a kid, the reason I live, where I can walk to the Pirates games, when I was in the 3rd grade, I'd never been to a game before. And my brother won tickets on this kid's show, the Chuck McCann show. He won, for some reason, 3 tickets to a Yankees game against the Kansas City Athletics. So my father, good father that he was, takes us to the Yankees game. And, you know, I'm 9 years old. I'm totally in awe. You know, we're in the Bronx. You know, we rode the subway. I'm looking up at everything, and we're outside. And I remember these teenagers talking to each other. You know, I'm trying to take everything in. And one kid, I'm listening to conversations, and this guy says to the other guy, "You want to go to the game?" And the other guy says, "Who's pitching?" And like, that was imprinted on my brain. It's like, imagine living close enough to a baseball stadium that you could decide that day whether you wanted to walk to the game. So in 1990, when this townhouse on the north side came open, and everybody who grew up in Pittsburgh, and I mean everybody, was telling me not to buy on the north side, I was like, are you kidding?
Now's the time.
This house is not expensive, and I can walk to see Bonds and Bonilla and Van Slyke.
Yeah, and you had street cred. You've
Yeah.
been through a pipe and almost got
That's
stabbed.
right.
That's right.
That's
That's
fair
right.
to me.
That's true.
Yeah, so it turned out to be the best move I ever made. I could not afford to live in that neighborhood now. I mean, I do live in that neighborhood still, but I couldn't afford to buy in that neighborhood because the prices have gone through the roof. But at the time,
So it was also a great investment.
yeah, well, it's
Look
the
at you.
best investment I ever made. I zigged when people were telling me to zag.
Well, how many games do you think you went to in the early 90s, the Bonds years?
Oh,
And did you go as a fan, not,
I
not
always
for
went
work?
as a fan.
Yeah.
I've rarely sat in the press box. I'd say 20 or 30 games a year.
That's great.
Yeah.
And what you saw Willie Mays. Now talk about Barry Bonds. how good was Barry Bonds? Both of you guys got some of that. Because for me growing up, he was one of my favorites.
He was great. Here's the thing about I think people, because he was, he was arrogant, and there were people who would say to me, so he's, what is that? 30 homers, 30 steals. What is it? That's
big
just
deal.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who do that nowadays.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, right. Those are pretty important skills. But the thing I remember most about Bonds, just on a day-to-day basis, watching him every day, like you were talking about watching Brian Reynolds, when the ball was hit into the corner, he would get to it fast, turn and throw. And I don't know how many doubles he kept singles, which did not, doesn't wind up as a stat anywhere, except maybe in these new stats they show that. But that always impressed me, that he covered that ground. It was, the Pirates essentially had two center fielders, Van Slyke and Bonds. So that might be the thing I remember most about Bonds, on a day-to-day basis. So
he did the job.
Yeah.
As arrogant as he was, he always did the job. That's what I loved about him.
Yeah. Yeah, and like somebody said, and I never realized this before, Clemente would have been the center fielder if the Yankees didn't have, if the Pirates didn't have Verdon. Same here. The Pirates had Van Slyke, so Bonds was in left field, and he stayed in left field. But he might have been a very good center fielder. He had all the tools. So
turns out to be one of the greatest left fielders maybe of all time, right?
Yeah.
How about the book, The Paris of Appalachia, and why you wrote it, and what is it about?
In Appalachia, because I grew up in Tennessee, right in the middle of Smoky Mountains.
Yeah.
Where does Appalachia end? Because I didn't even put that in my brain that
Pittsburgh's in Appalachia. Yeah, one of the reasons I made that the title is I wanted Pittsburgh to realize that all these hills weren't on loan from Morgantown. That we were actually, Squirrel Hill, Summer Hill, Troy Hill, Pleasant Hills. There's a reason
there's
for all
a lot
this.
of hills. There's a lot of things going on.
Swickley Heights, whatever. So, but I'd heard the original title of the book was going to be, I love Pittsburgh like a brother, and my brother drives me nuts.
That would work too.
Yeah,
that's good.
And I thought that was good.
That sounds like a sequel.
Right. But after I wrote the book, the publisher said, "No, that's not your title. Your title is on page 13 when you talk about this, the Paris of Appalachia," which I had heard as like a put down of Pittsburgh. Like, it's the Paris of Appalachia. Like, the.
Why would that be a put down? I think that's.
Well, it's like the best beach in Iowa, or the smartest guy in prison. It's like
somebody's got to have that award.
Yeah.
That's
but
right.
I couldn't figure. I also thought that shouldn't be a put down. Paris is nice. I've been to Paris. They don't know how to pronounce Versailles, but it's nice.
Yeah, that's their problem.
And Appalachia is beautiful. It just has a bad rap. And speaking of
beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And it goes on. The Appalachian Trail goes from Georgia to Maine. There's a lot. When you
think about Pennsylvania or Pittsburgh, you don't think about Appalachia.
You don't. You think about West Virginia, Western Kentucky, Tennessee. But one of the reasons I was glad we wound up calling it that is Appalachia is a lot more nuanced and complex than these, it's the image in the American mind is just white poverty. And it's so much more than that.
Our entire history is written in Appalachia for the most part, right?
Yeah, there's so much has happened here, and so much important stuff has happened here. So I wanted, the cover art was perfect for the title, as it turned out. I had already had the cover art. The guy named Ron Donahue in Lawrenceville, who goes out every day in Pittsburgh and paints. What he sees. Well, every nice day in Pittsburgh. So, 20, 30 times a year.
I was going to say.
But he's a brilliant painter, has books of his own paintings. So I had that in mind as the cover. So when they said it should be the Paris of Appalachia, I thought, yeah, that would work better.
How about the chapter, the Pirates and the Steelers, and the Penguins are included in it? I guess it's just all about.
Yeah. Yeah,
love of the
I knew
sports team.
I was writing a book about Pittsburgh. I had to include sports. So
That's what's blown me away here, is the love for sports.
yeah,
And it's different. It's really different.
yeah,
Like I don't even know how to explain it to people.
yeah. If if the Pirates do, get back into the playoffs, the people turned out. The people turn out here. This is an ideal place for a baseball park for a lot of reasons. Pittsburgh is within 250 miles of 42 million Americans, which is why you see when the Phillies are in town, the Mets are in town, Cubs, Cardinals, all these out-of-town jerseys, people are coming because it's easy. It's relatively easy to get to. It's an inexpensive ticket. It's a beautiful ballpark. That feeds some incredible percentage of the fans in PNC Park are from out of state. I think it's more than 40%. Some of those are Ohio, West Virginia, Pirates fans. But when the Pirates are good, like they were in 2013, 14, and 15, the attendance was higher for the Pirates than for the population of the 7-county metro area. There were more people buying tickets than live in the 7 counties around PNC Park. So the fans are there if you give them the product that they want to see. And as soon as they see it, if you give them any glimmer of hope, they come.
Absolutely.
So I do hope, in these Skeens years that they recognize that and build around a generational talent.
Yeah, there's an opportunity there like we haven't seen in our lifetime.
This is like when I was a kid, when I was 13, and the Mets finally got to 500 in 1969 in June. And Tom Seaver goes, "What are you all talking about, 500? We want to win it all." And they're like, "Yeah, right." But the Mets recognized they had Seaver, they had Koosman, they had Nolan Ryan, who wasn't really Nolan Ryan yet. But they had Cleon Jones, who was playing like Roberto Clemente that year. They had a team that could compete a lot like the Pirates with Jones and Skeens. So they went out and got Don Clendenin to play first, and they wound up going to the World Series, winning the World Series, and Don Clendenin was the MVP of the World Series. If you see what you have, and the Pirates have it in the pitching, this is not anything that anybody doesn't know. If the Pirates get to the playoffs with these pitchers, they can compete with anyone.
Last year we were considered one of the most terrifying teams if we made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because of the pitching. And I know the bullpen collapsed at the end, but even so, those guys could have hit stride. And if they hit stride, it's trouble. I mean, you think about how LA won last year. They didn't win because they're starting pitching. They won because of the bullpen.
Right.
And nobody talked about LA's bullpen until they were almost exposed. Right. And it all turned on at the right time. And there was a bunch of guys that want to take the ball. Knowing these guys, they want the ball. And that's a difference maker.
And the Dodgers also won because of good fundamental baseball.
100%.
That the Yankees just failed at. Just like basic stuff.
That's usually what wins playoffs games, I think. Pitching and good defense.
No doubt. Brian, you write the book. You make Pittsburgh your home. You wrote for 32 years columns. You did Stats Geek. Was there someone in your life, either in Pittsburgh or as you grew up, aside from your father, who maybe mentored you, someone you idolized, perhaps even writing-wise, someone you looked up to?
Yeah, when I was in college, in my house, we didn't get the New York Times. We got the New York Daily News and Newsday, which is the Long Island newspaper. And
is there a reason why not the Times? Just curious.
My father was the only Irish Republican. and my mother
was not going to be dropped off at my house.
Right, and my mother was an unreconstructed Roosevelt.
That grudge.
Yeah, there's that grudge, yeah.
There's a Roosevelt Democrat. Yeah, my father got drafted at age 30 before Pearl Harbor before Pearl Harbor
Oof.
in the peacetime draft, and he blamed Roosevelt and never voted for another Democrat again. But he was there when they took Berlin at 35.
Gosh. Oh my gosh!
But
Wow.
Where was I? So yeah. Anyway, in my house we didn't get the Times. We got the New York Daily News and Newsday. And at the time, the New York Daily News had these two columnists, which remain the best 1-2 punch in the history of newspaper columns. Jimmy Breslin and Pete Hamill each of them wrote 3 days a week, and they didn't do it. These weren't thumb-sucking columns, about national politics. They were hitting the streets, walking upstairs in Harlem, going to the docks, doing wherever the story was, they were looking for it. So I idolized those guys. And I wouldn't, put myself anywhere near them, but that's what I aspired to do it the right way, to talk to people, to get out of the office, to not just sit at your desk and, make phone calls.
One column come to mind in Pittsburgh Press or Post Gazette that you're most proud of, or maybe got the. I think I read something that you said, or maybe you're quoting someone, that a good column is one. This is back in the day when we had the newspapers, and when people would cut out editorials, and put them on the refrigerator.
Right. That's what. In fact, when I submitted my columns for the job in Pittsburgh, I said, I found the letter recently. I kept a copy. I said that a columnist should be judged not by how many awards he wins, but by how many refrigerator doors his column winds up on.
That's great.
Because,
Well said.
So, yeah, I mean, there's something. There's one column I probably can't. I don't know what I can say on this.
Well, yeah, you can say anything.
All right, well, okay.
Whatever you
well,
want.
Well,
Say
this
you're
is
Irish.
You're having some coffee and a
This is
stogie.
about the late Cyril Wecht, the coroner.
Oh yeah.
He didn't like me.
If Cyril didn't like you, there's no getting around.
Yeah, he didn't like me because I would say things.
You'd question
I would question his
Yeah.
brilliance.
Yeah. And he was brilliant.
That's what everyone says. I thought he was just smart and accomplished.
Well, he knew it.
But anyway, so he runs against Jim Roddy for county executive, and he should have won. But this brilliant man brings in Johnny Cochran to campaign for him, and Cyril already had the black vote. I mean, so all Johnny Cochran, like one of the most divisive figures at the time, OJ's lawyer, he brings OJ's lawyer to campaign for him like 3 days before Election Day. So there were people in around the county who didn't like that. So Jim Roddy winds up becoming county executive. So this guy, just a guy, an engineer, I think he was, a smart guy. He writes a letter to the editor saying, I'm so glad we have Jim Roddy, a gentleman, instead of Cyril Wecht, who is full of himself or something. It was just a letter to the editor, like 2 sentences. So Cyril is livid. He dictates a letter to his secretary on county stationery, because he was the medical examiner at the time, to the guy who wrote this letter. And it was something like, when I'm coming back from a speech or been paid big money to give testimony at a trial, what gives my heart good is to come back to Pittsburgh and see that I'm not an insignificant asshole like you. I mean, and it was like
On
that
county
word
stationery.
on county stationery. So he dictated this letter and had his secretary type it.
Are you sure you wanted to write this, Dr. Wecht?
Use the A word. So the guy receives the letter. He calls me. He tells me what he got. I said, that's a column. And,
Thank you.
so he brings it to me, and I see it's real. And I call Cyril, and of course, he doesn't want to talk about it. So I write a column about, and it was the most well-read column I've ever written. And not a single person objected to the word being in the paper. Not one. Because it was so ridiculous that this guy had done this thing to this man who was just, writing a relatively insignificant letter to the editor. So then Cyril's mad at me, never forgave me, and he would continue to write to me, which only gave me more columns. He would write me this letter, and I would, he called me, you and the other editor, hugging members of the newsroom. I'm like, right.
Here's another column. Thank you.
I don't hug just one buttock. I hug them both.
I'll just keep, and he would keep writing, and you would keep writing.
And he said,
so he was just teeing you up.
He was just teeing me up.
Yeah.
And it just went on and on. He said, you couldn't be elected block leader. So I printed that and I wrote another column. As it happened, Cyril, I was elected block leader at the Memorial Day block party, and I didn't even have to tend bar that long. So he was.
I'm glad you had fun with it.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. But he wrote a book, co-wrote it. He had a ghostwriter, but it's got a great title. It's not a great book, but it's got a great title. The Death and Life of Cyril Wecht. And so...
That's great.
I go to the index to see what he said about me. And, of course, it's not favorable. But I read those 2-3 pages of his vindictiveness. And all right, you got a right to say that. But he spent a lot more time going after the DA, Zappala, who he didn't like. But Cyril has since died. And the thing Cyril never realized is I liked him. I found him very entertaining. When you could vote for coroner, I always voted for him for coroner. I just didn't think he'd be a good county executive. But anyway, I got his book from the library like a year and a half ago. And in the way, if nobody wants the book you've taken out, it is automatically renewed. So it's been automatically renewed for like a year and a half.
Oh
now.
My gosh!
so that shows you they're not exactly flying off the shelves.
Well, he was certainly interesting. That I will give you. And I got along with him. I disagree with him politically, but he never held a grudge.
He was very
him.
smart.
Yeah.
He was funny.
Yes. Very interesting.
A good conversationalist. Yeah. But if you disagreed with anything he said, how dare you?
Taken aback by that.
Right.
Who are you to disagree with me? Right? Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's like I once wrote, and this is true. I just thought this was fact. He never met a microphone he didn't like, and he took great offense at that.
Which is funny because I think I would have thought he would not disagree with that.
No,
I mean it was fact. No. He loved it.
Yeah, but
he loved the limelight. He loved the mic. And anyway, so in terms of Pittsburgh writers, guys at the Post-Gazette Press, were you close to any of them?
Gene Collier.
I was going to ask you about Gene.
Gene Collier.
Now there's a brilliant guy, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's one of the best sports writers I think I've ever read.
Yeah.
What makes a great sports writer in your mind?
The thing I like about Collier in particular, and this isn't true of all sports writers, but with Collier, it's almost like he's kicking out the slats of what a sports writer should be. Like, he's not confined by conventions, and he's trying to push the envelope all the time with things you maybe didn't think belonged in a sports column until you read it in Gene Collier's column. Like, he had this one running bit every year about bear season in Pennsylvania. Did you read those things? The Bears versus the humans. The humans win again. And, with the stats. But really, it's not fair. But he would give the play-by-play. The Bears thought they had something this year, but once again,
humans undefeated.
Right. So he would do things like that I think were great. Smisek was really good. Other columnists in other arenas like Peter Leo, I liked him. He wrote a humor column for us for a long time.
Get along with Kiden?
I got along with him.
Speaking of surly?
Yeah. Yeah, he had an edge to him, but I got along with him. And certainly Smisek had an edge to him. But Smisek, I think, drove the sports conversation in Pittsburgh as much as anyone ever has.
Fair.
Yeah. So I liked, and he's Pittsburgh born and bred, so he knew the town. And
Ron Cook, I thought, was great, too.
Yeah. His profiles in particular, I think, were
I think he
good.
often uniquely would write what many Pittsburghers were thinking in that language, too.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. Now I kind of understand that. Yeah, that's well said.
Yeah.
Well, geez, what a treat to have you here.
Oh, it was my pleasure. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, my gosh, this has been an absolute blast.
Yeah. Nothing but a pipe dream, Brownie.
I'm going to be using that
we
forever
won't
now,
forget
Michael.
the pipe dream and the emerald.
And the emerald.
For the Irishman.
Yeah.
The king.
The king.
Yeah.
King.
What was the name of the king that you studied again?
I don't remember.
I know you don't.
Bryan.
That's why I asked you.
Bryan.
Mac.
There was a King Brian O'Neill in like 1215. I looked him up one time. The Vikings kicked his ass. So that
It was kind of like the bear. He was the bear.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's good.
A lot of fun. Enjoyed it, and make sure you like and subscribe, and join us next time. Another edition of Hold My Cutter.
Hold My Cutter.